Okay, the entrance to Heroic and Epic Chronoscope is on the north wall, and then the entrance to Legendary Chronoscope is, oops, we're just going to do normal, is on the west wall. So go ahead and click on that. I think this is the only content in the game that has all three difficulty options: Heroic, Epic, and Legendary. I don't think there's anything else in the game that has all three options, other than like maybe challenges. Yeah, I typically, for level 20, I'm still using Sharn stuff, and then like Caneth craftables that I had from years ago, but I'm sure that the Saltmarsh stuff is probably better. Okay, we're just missing map quest, but that's my guildie. He knows how this works, and the raid doesn't lock right away. So let's go ahead and get some buffs. Don't fall off this ship, okay? Because if you do, this is what happens. So don't fall off the ship. And then your soul stone will be back on top of the ship. So I'm back, and then it took me 10 seconds to port. I'm back up here and ready for raise. Thank you so much. I was just demonstrating what not to do, which is what part of what we do in these teaching raids. You know, I want to show you that so that you don't accidentally fall off and die in a pug. All right, let's go right across this little boarding plank and into the Chronoscope. And our first fight is going to be right here. We're going to get started by talking to Nalgan and then Professor Tremus. And they're going to get a ritual started or something. And then all these mobs standing around us, all these NPCs standing around us that say site worker, are going to transform into devils and stuff. And then there's going to be, like, I think an orange or red named devil as well. Yeah, there's a translucent set of spiral stairs here that you can get on top of. So if you're like ranged or caster, you might want to come up here and stand on this ledge and cast from above, or shoot your bow or crossbow from above. So feel free to make your way up that spiral stair if you like. And Heroic, Epic, and Legendary Chronoscope are all basically like virtually identical. They're just scaled for different levels. Heroic Chronoscope is base 6, Epic Chronoscope is base 21, and Legendary Chronoscope is base level 32. I go ahead and beat down all these mobs. It's just normal, so no big whoop. But even on normal, some of these mobs are kind of sacks of hit points. Well, the bosses anyways. The trash will be pretty easy. Talk to Curatrix here. And then a portal will appear in the middle of the floor. And go ahead and click on the portal. Alright, I want everybody from this point to go, well, everybody who's learning, go into the Rusty Nail Tavern. I want you to see that there is a shrine here on the right. There's also a potion and wand vendor here. You can get supplies right inside the raid. And there's a flame touch weapon vendor. Back in the day, this was a nice place to grab blanks for Caneth crafting. But now that you can get slotted weapons, you definitely want to craft on like a, you know, a flame touched blank with some slots preferably. But you can actually pull these flame touch weapons out of the raid and use them as Caneth crafting blanks if you wanted to. But that's pretty easy to find on random generated gear. All right, so to advance to start the next part, we got to go through this D door over here, and you can use regular D door at any part of this raid. It doesn't lock. There's no lockout once you're inside, but the raid will lock from people entering, at least in Legendary, after we come up here, after part 1, when we come up here and talk to Vahir for Nord again. So we have to talk to Vahir for Nord to advance, to basically start the raid. And if we were doing heroic, you could tell him, you could ask him if he can give you some aid, and he would give you some buffs that are actually helpful for heroic. But he doesn't give you those buffs on epic or legendary. Also, a little bit of trivia: if you come back behind the tower, you'll see Sidoni and Vela, both agents of Arganessen, hanging out back here, having a little conversation. That is Vela, the red dragon from the Vault of Night raid. She is here in elven form. And this is one of 2 places in the game she appears in elven form. Actually, maybe 3. She might be in elven form in the anniversary party. But you can also find her in the back of the Bogwater Tavern in House P as an unnamed bar patron, where she's sitting with a dwarf, and they're actually discussing the plot of the Vault of Night. But just want to show you Vela's back here. But she's just there for flavor, I guess, or thematics. Go ahead and click back through the D door. And we're going to go out of the Rusty Nail and then up the stairs to the right. And now, since we've talked to Vahir for Nord, we can then talk to this guy, Delvarian, and he will open up the barrier to the rest of the raid. And there's going to be some trash mobs right away.
And just as a note, Delvarian is the quest giver for VOD. Another reason, just this morning.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for saying that. At this part, we're going to go ahead and do some optionals. You can split up. If you're doing higher difficulty, your group may want to stay together, but on normal, if you feel comfortable just doing your own thing, go ahead. We're just going to be killing mobs in the market. So we're doing the optionals: reduce the Devil's Ground Legions. You can see 32 left, 31 left. Reduce the Devil Air Legions. Those are the Abishai that are flying around. And then rescue 15 Stormreach Defenders. Those are like, you'll find fallen NPCs. Just click on them to rescue them. And those are worth a significant amount of XP for not much effort. So your group may want to do that if people are getting XP. You will get extra chests for them as well at the end. And those are named chests. So just wander around the market and kill stuff. There are 3 or 4 collectibles that you can get throughout the market, and for what it's worth, this is the old market map. So this is like pre-House Caneth days. So if you go over to the part where like House Caneth would be, you'll see that it's different than it is today. In fact, even the tent in the middle used to be in the market. There's an Abishai by the bank. Abishais regenerate their health, so sometimes you need multiple people DPSing them. Otherwise, they might out-regen your damage.
2 by the base in the south here.
So that tent that you see in the middle used to be in the market. We have the open air vendors now, but there used to be a tent there years ago, many, many years ago. And you would have to go inside the tent, and all the vendors were in there. And they were like up on platforms, and you had to climb ladders and stuff, and you had to like play Donkey Kong just to go get some potions. People found that pretty irritating, I guess. It was before my time, so they did away with it. And there was a whole live event where there was a devil invasion in the marketplace. So like in the public space of the marketplace, there were like devils attacking people. And it was a server-wide event, and it was actually a competition from server to server to see who could collect enough raid tokens first. I guess you would do raids, you would get a raid token, and you would turn them into an NPC somewhere. And once like 10,000 raid tokens were turned in, then it would advance the event, and the event was the marketplace tent exploding. And this raid is basically revisiting that moment in DDO history of the devil invasion. So this is the part right here where it's changed from what we now know as the marketplace, especially over here. This is like House Caneth is over there. This is the entrance to the old entrance to the catacombs. It doesn't look like this anymore in the new market. But this is what it looked like years ago. So we still have 5 more devils to kill. Or air legions, I'm sorry. We've killed enough devils, but we need to kill 5 more Abishai. Oh no, turn the tide against the devil's incursion. 38 left. So we still want to kill more trash mobs. If you're new, go ahead and make your way to the Phoenix Tavern. That's to the left of the Market Bank. If you're here learning, go to the Phoenix Tavern. High Lords, you can stay out into the market and kill stuff. Everybody who's new, go into the Phoenix Tavern on the left side of the bank. Okay, here is Professor Tremus, and for what it's worth, these named Abishai, Nox, and Vitter, and stuff that you see hanging out here, we're going to be fighting them in the end fight. So to advance the raid, you have to talk to Professor Tremus, and he tells you about, he's trying to get into the Gans safety deposit box, and he tells you to go get the key from inside the bank, that you can get the key from the teller at the window in the bank. But he says you got to fight a guy named Bloodplate first, an ill-tempered Orthon. So the bank fight is like the first of 3 boss fights. We're not going to go into the bank yet because we still need to kill 18 more devil invaders and then 5 more Abishai to complete these optionals. So just run around the market and kill stuff. As I said, this is an optional, so let's say you were like soloing this, for example, which is very, very soloable. You know, on Heroic and Epic. I've never tried to solo it on Legendary. I don't know that I want to try because the mini bosses are just sacks of hit points, but in any event, if you're soloing it or doing it shorthanded, you might want to skip this optional to save time. But when you have a full group, it doesn't take very long. If there are any questions about any of the raids we've done today in chat, in Twitch chat, let me know. Happy to discuss. And if you're new to teaching raids on Sarlona, this is something we do every Saturday throughout the winter and spring. We do a different raid or set of raids every Saturday. We still have at least 5 weeks of teaching raids left this year, and I post details in the Sarlona forum every week. Okay, we just have 3 Abishai left, the Air Legions, so we're going to go inside the bank now, and we'll let those Abishais repopulate, and we'll get them after the bank fight. Also, the mailbox outside of the bank is a chest, so you can click on the mailbox. It's just a junk chest, and then go inside the bank. Alright, Bolo Grub, whenever you're ready, you can step forward and get things started. The raid is still not locked. It won't be locked until after this fight and after we talk to the guy at the top of the tower again to advance it. So people can still join late at this point. So you can see Bloodplate at the top and his armorers. They're all going to come down. And there's going to be a bunch of trash as well. Kill the trash and the armorers first. The armorers actually repair him. So kill the trash and the armorers first while the tank holds Bloodplate. And then after all the trash and the armors are dead, then we can beat on Bloodplate, who is going to periodically teleport back up and be healed up by his armorers. There is a shrine inside the Rusty Nail Tavern and a shrine inside the Phoenix Tavern that you can use at any time during this raid. You can literally step out during this fight. There is a flame barrier there right now while Bloodplate's down, but that flame barrier will go away, and you can step out and use one of the shrines if you want to. There'll also be a shrine here in the bank after this part's done. Notice that the doorway is open now, so you could, for example, if it's later in the fight, and you really needed hit spell points, you could go out into one of the taverns, shrine up, and come back in and finish off Bloodplate. The circles are going to give you like a disease, so stay out of them. If you get the disease, just drink a disease pot and it'll get rid of it. These circles, I don't know if these are in Heroic and Epic. These were introduced with Legendary, but I don't know if they like retroactively added these circles to Heroic and Epic. So these might just be on Legendary. King Israel, good morning and welcome. Right, and beat on Bloodplate. Yeah, I just got this wizard hat sent in by a new viewer who we met on the Twitch front page special a couple weeks ago, Captain Walrus. You know, I had a pirate hat and a moose hat that I wear, and he felt that I needed a wizard hat, and I wholeheartedly agree. Why did I not have this sooner? You're a wizard, Voodoo. And thanks again to Captain Walrus for sending in the wizard hat. I think summons are always okay in this raid. Can't think of any parts that get messed up. Oh, when he has the fire wings, he reflects damage back at you. So go ahead and attack him and see, you know, just feel that. But normally you don't want to attack him when he has his wings. But it seems like ranged attacks and spells, like if you're further away, don't get reflected back. The wings were added for Legendary. I have no idea if they retroactively added those into the Heroic and Epic version of this raid. I think the wings might be just in a Legendary. I know there are definitely some cases where ranged and casting DPS don't get reflected, but it doesn't seem entirely consistent, so I'm not really sure what the rules are with that. Go ahead and shrine up if you want to. And at this point, if we could have done this before talking to Tremus in the tavern. So if we hadn't talked to Tremus yet, then we would need to go talk to him at this point. And then you come back here to the dwarf teller and tell him that you're looking for the key, and he gives you the key. So if you ever get to this point and that dwarf doesn't want to talk to you, it's because you didn't talk to Tremus yet. Because Tremus was the one that sent you here to get the key. So you would just need to talk to Tremus and then come back here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go out of the bank and then turn right and go into the Phoenix Tavern right around the corner. And then we're going to go to the back where Tremus is and give him the key. And then once he opens the box and gets the sliver of time, which he's looking for to steal Sulamati's youth, then he's going to take off, and we're going to rescue Nalgan, because we're trading that for her life. But he drains her youth before he takes off. There'll be a junk chest here. After we loot the junk chest, if we didn't care about the optionals, we could just detour and go to the next part instead of running through the market where there's going to be trash mobs. We just talk to Nelgan there, and then we can open up the deposit box. It's just a junk chest. But we still have part of the optional to do, so do not detour. Once you've looted, go right back out into the market, and we need to kill 2 more of the Abishai to complete that optional. Isukai, I raided you last night. Good morning and welcome. These effects are on Legendary only. Okay, I thought they were, but I just don't really do Heroic and Epic Chrono anymore. I know, like, with Heroic VOD, they added the circles that were brought in for Legendary. You can see we're aggroing a lot of mobs, so this is why it's advantageous to, especially on higher difficulties, just detour to get to the next part. But, you know, on normal, it's no big deal, and we still want to kill 2 more. Well, 1 more now of the Abishai. So if you got eyes on an Abishai, call it out.
They like to hang out under the bridge.
Yes.
Bridge by main, by the bank.
Yeah, the mobs actually have specific spawn points. So that's just something you learn over time. Okay, we finished that optional. Everybody can head to... well, we need only 1 person has to advance the raid. But if you're new, just go ahead and go into the Rusty Nail and go into that back D-door on the left and go up to the top of the tower where I showed you where, like, Vela and Sidon were. Also, you know, if you have trash mobs following you like I do right now, the devils, I don't think they're supposed to, but because they teleport, they can actually teleport inside the taverns. So the taverns are generally a safe space, but sometimes the devils will follow you in there. So here all we need to do is talk to Vahir Fenord to advance it. Only 1 person needs to come up. It literally says locks the raid when you talk to him. So this is the point in which the raid is locked and nobody can enter the raid at this point. You can still safely detour, but nobody can enter the raid if they're not in it already. Oh, Epic says it locks it even though it doesn't. All right, from here we want to go into the steam tunnels. And now this is the second mini boss fight. We're gonna fight Razor Arm. It's another Orthon. And I don't think these circles of Great Scorn appear on Heroic or Epic. This was new for Legendary. Those can be insta-killed. I believe they can be assassinated, hurled, frogged. Any other insta-kills work on. You can also DPS them. And if you go into the circle around the Great Scorns or whatever they're called, it will like paralyze you. You can wing or abundant step out of it. There's going to be trash mobs. You can just beat all that stuff down. And then once the trash is dealt with, you can get back to Razor Arm. He ports around. He can also do like an effect where he tosses you, so you can get thrown all the way across the zone. He does that on all difficulties. I encourage you to go ahead and go into one of the circles if you don't know what happens, just to see that you do get like stuck there, but you can wing out. I think otherwise you'd be stuck there until it was killed. Alright, Razor Arm is dead. Clean up the trash. and then go to the bottom, and we're going to do the end fight next. Any questions about any parts of this raid before we go to the end fight? And help yourself to the 2 chests. I meant to mention that named loot does drop from the bank fight chest, and named loot does drop from here. I think it's just the Hellfire crossbow from the left chest here. And shrine up if you want to. The boss is kind of a sack of hit points. On normal, it won't be that big of a deal. We did this on R1, I think on Monday night or Tuesday night, and it took us like an hour to do it because the bosses are just such giant sacks of hit points. But we did all the optionals and stuff, so that added extra time. Where's the coffee and donuts? At a coffee and donut shop near you. Alright, any questions about any parts of this raid before we go to the end fight? And like I said, I will be answering viewer questions in Twitch chat. So if anybody watching has questions about any of the raids we've done today, I'm happy to discuss. Yeah, I don't know who told you that, Proc, but I mean, I wish I had coffee and donuts, but I don't. I'm sorry. All right, we're gonna pull this lever, and we're gonna go into the portal. There are 3 collectibles around the outside of this part, so help yourselves. Once we step forward, the 5 named Abishai are going to appear, and we're going to have to beat them down. And our tank Bolo Girl will just grab all their aggro, and then we can beat on them, preferably in one big pile. The different Abishai have different immunities. So like the red one, I believe, is immune to fire. And then, yeah, I can't remember which one's which. I guess Squall is immune to electric. Squall also regenerates, so like you have to beat him down twice. Back in the day, people would beat these down in a specific order, and if you're doing this on higher difficulties, it would definitely be beneficial to focus DPS on one of them at a time. So, you know, if you join a pug, the raid leader might call out, you know, for everybody to beat down Vitter first, and then Squall, or whatever, you know, whatever the raid leader says. But on normal, as you can see, pretty easy beat down. Probably should have done Legendary Vision of Destruction and Chronoscope on hard for the teaching raid. Alright, if you look up, you'll see the 5 Abishai that we just beat down. They're going to come up with a new plan, and they're going to form Voltron. The conjoined Abishai Devastator, and he is the final boss. Shapes are bad, so when the boss throws down shapes, whether it's circles or squares or a cone, you're going to want to stay out of that. He's going to transform into different colored dragons, all the chromatic dragons, and then do various attacks. He'll do a fire breath attack when he's a red dragon. He'll do like Everett's black tentacles that give you a really nasty cursing amount of damage. When he's a black dragon, when he's a white dragon, he puts down these circles that, these crystals that explode of cold damage. When he's the blue dragon, he puts down, I believe, circles that explode with electrical damage. So just go ahead and beat down the conjoined Abishai Devastator. Stay out of the shape to avoid the breath attack. There's going to be devil mobs that spawn. as trash. So insta-killers are great. If not, just DPS them down. When he's in certain dragon form, I think he might be immune to that element damage unless you strip it. I'm not 100% sure about that, though. Stay out of the circles. The purple circle is ours. That's a defensive circle, but these blue circles are the dragon's attack, or the conjoined Abishai Devastator's attack. No death timer on normal. On higher difficulties, I think on Reaper it's just 6 seconds per skull, I believe. And here's where Sulamadi appears. We don't actually fight him in here, but Tremus's plan was to steal Sulamadi's youth with the Sliver of Time, but Sulamadi's tells him he's an idiot because you can't steal youth from one who is immortal. He tries to use the Sliver of Time on him, and the Sliver of Time shatters. I should have turned the DM volume on because he's got great voice dialogue. Oh, wow. Yeah, I've definitely seen that bug before. I didn't notice that it particularly is a result of this portal. So at this point, most people would have de-doored already. But, you know, I just wanted you to see the little dialogue. The raid is done. You can either de-door or you can take this portal here. You don't want to linger in here because the tent is about to explode. It will explode once we talk. So you're going to go right back into the Rusty Nail to the top of the tower. So into the Rusty Nail and to the back left. Through the D-door. One of the gags that people like to play is they like to cast a D-door on the D-door that's already in the raid. And then people get confused about why they're back at the start of the raid. It's just a little funny that people do. And after we talk to Vahir Fenord, you can watch the market tent and it'll blow up. What you're going to watch right now actually happened on the live servers in the public marketplace zones. And this was like, I don't know, maybe 16, 17 years ago, 18 years ago. I'm not sure exactly. It was before my time. What you're seeing right now, all of this happened in the public zones of the marketplace after each server, you know, turned in 1,000 or 10,000 or whatever raid tokens. And nobody knew what was going to happen, so everybody was like, oh, what's going to happen when we, you know, when we turn in all the tokens? There's actually old school video on YouTube of this. And that is the conclusion of Chronoscope. If anybody has any questions, let me know. Otherwise, help yourself to 5 chests. We get 5 chests because we did all the optionals. If anybody's looking for any gear, please call it out. High Lords, thanks so much for helping out. Gijo, thank you for simulcasting. There's some solid gear from this one, so if anybody needs anything, I've got a couple belts of the black and white Abishai. Got a gem of many facets, Diabolus ring. And there are unique rewards that come from the turn-in. So items like the robe of the Diabolist, the time blade, The goggles of time sensing, I think they're called, those only come from the end reward turn-in. There might be others too, I can't remember all of them. Anybody want any of this heroic stuff or whatever in the chest? I got a Gem of Many Facets, Belt of Black and White Abishai. They're not bad for level 5 items, and they can be upgraded to Epic and Legendary. Gem of Many Facets. This is the best craftable trinket in the game because it has a slot. Even if you don't benefit from the set bonus, it's the only craftable trinket that has a slot. Okay, Hand-like Feet, I'll give you the gem.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, guys, that is it. Thanks for coming, everybody. Don't forget to turn it in under the bridge in the southern end of the market. And maybe we'll see you next week.